ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaраvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Chapter 1 entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra, Text 20. अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदमाह महीपते. Synonyms. Atha, thereupon, vyavasthitan, situated, drishtva, looking on, dhartarashtranan, dhartarashtran, the sons of Dhritarashtra, kapidhvajaha, one whose flag is marked with Hanuman, pravritte, while while about to be engaged, shastra sampate, the arrows released, dhanuhu, bow, Udyamya, after taking up, Pandavaha, the son of Pandu, Arjuna, Hrishikesham, unto Lord Krishna, Tada, at that time, Vakyam, words, Idam, these, Aha, said, Mahipate, O king. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charana Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. O king, at that time Arjuna, the son of Pandu, who was seated in his chariot, his flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows, looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra. O king, Arjuna then spoke to Hrishikesha, Krishna, these words. Purport. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle between Rama and Ravana, and Lord Rama emerged victorious. Now, both Rama and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Rama himself, and wherever Lord Rama is, his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus, all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Text 21 and 22. Arjuna Uvacha Senayorubhayormadhye Ratham Sthapayamechyuta Yavadetan Niriksheham Yodhukamanavasthitan Kairmaya Saha Yodhavyam Asmin Ranasamudyame. Synonyms. Arjuna, Arjuna, Uvacha, said, Senayoho, of the armies, Ubhayoho, of both the parties, Madhye, in between them, Ratham, the chariot, Sthapaya, please keep, me, my, Achyuta, O infallible one, Yavat, as long as, Etan, all these, Nirikshe may look. Aham, I. Yodhukaman, desiring to fight. Avasthitan, arrayed on the battlefield. Kaihi, with whom? Maya, by me. Saha, with. Yodhavyam, to fight with. Asmin, in this. Rana, strife. Samudyame, in the attempt. Translation. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies, so that I may see who is present here, who is desirous of fighting, and with whom I must contend in this great battle attempt. Purport. Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, Rishikesha, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render a service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes great pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. As master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master of all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peace-making endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. Text 23. योत्स्यमानानवेक्षेऽहं य एतेऽत्र समागताः धार्तराष्ट्रस्य दुर्बुद्धेर्युद्धे प्रियचिकीर्षवः. Synonyms. Yotsyamanam, those who will be fighting. Avekshe, let me see. Aham, I. Ye, who. Ete, those. Atra, here. Samagataha, assembled. Dhartarashtrasya, the son of Dhritarashtra. Durbuddhehe, evil-minded. Yuddhe, in the fight. Priya, well. Chikirshavah, wishing. Translation. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Purport. It was an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhana must have been birds of the same feather. Arjuna wanted to see them in the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory because of Krishna, because Krishna was sitting by his side. Text 24. Sanjaya Uvacha Evamukto Hrishikesho Gudakeshen Bharata Senayorubhayormadhye Sthapayitva Rathottamam. Synonyms. Sanjaya, Sanjaya. Uvacha, said. Evam, thus. Uktaha, addressed. Hrishikeshaha, Lord Krishna. Gudakeshena, by Arjuna. Bharata, O descendant of Bharata. Senayoho, of armies. Ubhayoho, of both. Madhye, in the midst of. Sthapayitva, by placing. Rathottamam, the finest chariot. Translation. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, being thus addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. Purport. In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesha. Sleep also means ignorance. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in walking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, quality, and pastimes. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness or Samadhi. As Hrishikesha, or the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows. Text 25. Bhishmadrona pramukhatah sarvesham cha mahikshitam uvacha partha pashyaitan samavetan kuruniti. Synonyms. Bhishma, grandfather Bhishma. Drona, the teacher Drona. Pramukhatah, in the front of. Sarvesham, all. Cha, also. Mahikshitam, chiefs of the world. Uvacha, said. Partha, O Partha, son of Prutha. Pashya, just behold. Etan, all of them. Samavetan, assembled. Kurun, all the members of the Kuru dynasty. Iti, thus. Translation. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all other chieftains of the world, Hrishikesha, the Lord, said, just behold, Partha, all the Kurus who are assembled here. Purport. As the supersoul of all living entities, Lord Krishna could understand what was going on in the mind of Arjuna. The use of the word Hrishikesha in this connection indicates that he knew everything. And the word Partha, or the son of Kunti or Prutha, is also similarly significant in reference to Arjuna. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna that because Arjuna was the son of Prutha, the sister of his own father Vasudeva, he had agreed to be the charioteer of Arjuna. Now, what did Krishna mean when he told Arjuna to behold the Kurus? Did Arjuna want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Prutha. The mind of Arjuna was thus predicated by the Lord in friendly joking. Text 26. Tatra pashyat sthitan parthas Tatra pashyat sthitan parthah pitrunatha pitamahan आचार्यान् मातुलान् भ्रातॄन् पुत्रान् पौत्रान् सखींस्तथा श्वशुरान् सुहृदश्चैव सेनयोरुभयोरपि synonyms tatra there apashyat he could see sthitan standing parthaha Arjuna pitrun fathers atha also pitamahan grandfathers acharyan teachers matulan maternal uncles Bhratrun, brothers. Putran, sons. Pautran, grandsons. Sakhin, friends. Tatha, two. Shvashuran, fathers-in-law. Suhrudaha, well-wishers. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Senayoho, of the armies. Ubhayoho, of both parties. Api, including. Translation. There Arjuna could see, within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father in law and well wishers, all present there. Purport. On the battlefield, Arjuna could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Bhurishrava, who were his father's contemporaries, grandfathers Bhishma and Somadatta, teachers like Dronacharya and Krupacharya, maternal uncles like Shalya and Shakuni, brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwathama, well wishers like Kritavarma, etc. He could see also the armies which contained many of his friends. Text 27. तान् समीक्ष्य स कौन्तेय सर्वान् बन्धूनवस्थितान् कृपया परयाविष्टो विषीदन्निदमब्रवीत्. Synonyms. Tan, all of them. Samikshya, after seeing. Saha, he. Kaunteyaha, the son of Kunti. Sarvan, all kinds of. Bandhun, relatives. Avasthitan, situated. Kripaya, by compassion. Paraya, of a high grade. Avishtaha, overwhelmed by. Vishidan, while lamenting. Idam, thus. Abravit, spoke. Translation. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Text 28. Arjuna uvacha दृष्ट्वेमं स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्सुं samupasthitam सीदन्ति मम गात्राणि मुखं च परिशुष्यति. Synonyms. Arjunaha, Arjuna, Uvacha, said, Drushtva, after seeing, Imam, all these, Swajanam, kinsmen, Krishna, O Krishna, Yuyutsum, all in fighting spirit, Samupasthitam, all present, Sidanti, quivering, Mama, mine, Gatrani, limbs of the body, Mukham, mouth, Cha, also, Parishushyati, drying up. Translation. Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or in the demigods, whereas the non devotee, however advanced he may be in material qualifications, by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends, and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them for them, compassion for them who had so decided to fight amongst themselves. As far as his soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt compassion even for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. And so, thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver and his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjuna, had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. Although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but that he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. It is said, therefore, यस्यास्ति भक्तिर्भगवत्य किञ्चन सर्वैर्गुणैस्तत्र समासते सुराः हरावभक्तस्य कुतो महद्गुणा मनोरथेन सति धावतो बहिः. One who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods. But one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glowing material energy. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, Verse 12. Text 29. वेपतुश्च शरीरे मे रोमहर्षश्च जायते गाण्डीवं स्रंसते हस्तात् त्वच्चैव परिदह्यते. Synonyms: Vepatuhu, trembling of the body, cha, also, sharire, on the body, me, mine, romaharshaha, standing of hair on end, cha, also, jayate, is taking place, gandivam, the bow of Arjuna, sramsate, is slipping, hastat, from the hands, tvak, skin, cha, also, eva, certainly, paridahyate, burning. Translation: My whole body is trembling, and my hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. Purport: There are two kinds of trembling of the body and two kinds of standings of the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow Gandiva was slipping from his hand, and because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All these are due to a material conception of life. Text 30. न च शक्नोम्यवस्थातुं भ्रमतीव च मे मनः निमित्तानि च पश्यामि विपरीतानि केशव. Synonyms: Na, nor, cha, also, shaknomi, am I able, avasthatum, to stay, bhramati, forgetting, iva, as, cha, and, me, my, manaha, mind, nimittani, causes, cha, also, pashyami, I foresee, viparitani, just the opposite, Keshava, O killer of the demon Keshi, Krishna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation: I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself. and my mind is reeling. I foresee only evil, O killer of the Keshi demon. Purport. Due to his impatience, Arjuna was unable to stay on the battlefield, and he was forgetting himself on account of the weakness of his mind. Excessive attachment for material things puts a man in a bewildering condition of existence. Bhayam dvitiya abhinevishataha. Such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium take place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna envisioned only unhappiness in the battlefield. He could not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe. The word nimitta is significant. When a man sees only frustration in his expectations, he thinks, why am I here? Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is supposed to show disregard for self interest by submission to the will of Krishna, who is everyone's real self interest. The conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him. Text 31. न च श्रेयोऽनुपश्यामि हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च. Synonyms. Na nor. Cha also. Shreyah good. Anupashyami do I foresee. Hatva by killing. Swajanam own kinsman. Ahave in the fight. Na nor. Kankshe do I desire. Vijayam victory. Krishna O Krishna. Na nor. Cha also. Rajyam kingdom. Sukhani happiness thereof. Cha also. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Purport. Without knowing that one's self interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. Under delusion, they forget that Krishna is also the cause of material happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for a Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in the renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture, are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thought that by killing his kinsmen, there would be no happiness in his life, and therefore he was not willing to fight, just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. He has now decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. But as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence, because the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. But Arjuna has had no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lay in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So we shall continue to read from Bhagavad Gita as it is in tomorrow's session. I request all of you to please share at least one point of learning from today's reading session on your respective groups. It will encourage others also to join our reading session. So please do share at least one learning point from today's reading session. Thank you very much for your valuable time. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Today's Bhagavad Gita reading session. Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 1 entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text 32 to 35. Kim no rajyena govinda kim bhogairjivitena va yeshamarthe kangshitam no rajyam bhoga sukhani cha त इमेव स्थिता युद्धे प्राणांस् त्यक्त्वा धनानि च आचार्या पितरः पुत्राः तथैव च पितामहाः मातुला श्वशुरा पौत्रा श्याला सम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान्न हन्तुमिच्छामि घ्नतोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराजस्य हेतो किं नु मही कृते निहत्य धार्तराष्ट्रान्न का प्रीतिः स्यात् जनार्दन. Synonyms: Kim, what use? Naha, to us. Rajyena is the kingdom. Govinda, O Krishna. Kim, what? Bhogaihi, enjoyment. Jivitena, by living. Va, either. Yesham, for whom. Arthe, for the matter of. Kangshitam, desired. Naha, our. Rajyam, kingdom. Bhogaha, material enjoyment. Sukhani, all happiness. Cha, also. Te, all of them. Ime, these. Avasthitaha, situated. Yuddhe, in this battlefield. Pranan, lives. Tyaktva, giving up. Dhanani, riches. Cha, also. Acharyaha, teachers. Pitaraha, fathers. Putraha, sons. Tatha, as well as. Eva, certainly. Cha, also. Pitamahaha, grandfathers. Matulaha, maternal uncles. Shvashuraha, fathers-in-law. Pautraha, grandsons. Shyalaha, brothers-in-law. Sambandhinaha, relatives. Tatha, as well as. Etan, all these. Na, never. Hantum, for killing. Ichhami, do I wish. Gnataha, being killed. Api, even. Madhusudana, O killer of the demon Madhu, Krishna. Api, even if. Trailokya, of the three worlds. Rajyasya, of the kingdoms. Hetoho, in exchange. Kim, what to speak of. Nu, only. Mahi krute, for the sake of earth. Nihatya, by killing. Dhartarashtran, the sons of Dhritarashtra. Naha, our. Ka, what? Pritihi, pleasure. Syat, will there be, Janardana, O maintainer of all living entities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charanaраvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation: O Govinda, of what avail to us are kingdoms, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed in this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers in law, grandsons, brothers in law, and all relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, then why should I wish to kill them, though I may survive? O maintainer of all creatures, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this world. Purport: Arjuna has addressed Lord Krishna as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasures for the cows and the senses. By using this significant word, Arjuna indicates what will satisfy his senses. Although Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses, if we try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, then automatically our own senses are satisfied. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but not to the extent what they may covet, that they may covet. But when one takes the opposite way, namely, when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then, by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entity are satisfied. Arjuna's deep affection for community and family members is exhibited here partly due to his natural compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives, but Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed in the battlefield, and he will be unable to share his opulence after victory. This is a typical calculation of material life. The transcendental life is, however, different. Since a devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. And if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a farthing. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before their coming into the battlefield, and that he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. This fact is disclosed in following chapters. As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers, but it was the Lord's plan that they should all be killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore, the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. Text 36. पापमेवाश्रयेदस्मान् हत्वैतानाततायिनः तस्मान्नार्हा वयं हन्तुं धार्तराष्ट्रान् स्वबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनः स्याम माधव. Synonyms: Papam, vices; eva, certainly; ashrayet, must take upon; asman us, hatva by killing, etan all these, atatayinaha aggressors, tasmat therefore, na never, arhaha deserving, vayam us, hantum to kill, Dhartarashtran the sons of Dhritarashtra, Swabandhavan along with friends, Swajanam kinsmen, he certainly, Katham how, Hatva by killing, Sukhinaha happy, Syama become, Madhava, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune. Translation. Sin will overcome us if we slay our aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Purport. According to Vedic injunctions, there are six kinds of aggressors. 1. A poison giver. 2. One who sets fire to the house. 3. One who attacks with deadly weapons. 4. One who plunders riches. 5. One who occupies another's land. And 6. One who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting for any ordinary man. But Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people were anxious to live in his kingdom, Ramarajya. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because he kidnapped Rama's wife Sita, but Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not, therefore, consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen? Arjuna's addressing of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of the goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that, as husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not have to induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. Text 37 and 38. यद्यप्येतेन पश्यन्ति लोभोपहतचेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः पापादस्मान्निवर्तितुम् कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन. Synonyms: Yadi, if, api, certainly, ete, they, na, do not, pashyanti, see, lobha, greed, upahata, overpowered, chetasaha, the hearts, kulakshaya, in killing the family, kritam, done, dosham, fault, mitradrohe, quarreling with friends, cha, also, patakam, sinful reactions, katham, why, na, shall not, gneyam, know this, asmabhihi, by us, papat, from sins, asmat, ourselves, nivartitum, to cease, kulakshaya, the destruction of a dynasty, kritam, by so doing, dosham, crime, prapashyadbihi, by those who can see, janardana, O Krishna. Translation: O Janardana, although these men, overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, with knowledge of the sin, engage in these acts? Purport: A Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. Under such obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he was challenged by the party of Duryodhana. In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight. Text 32. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam krishnam adharmo bhibhavatyuta. Synonyms: Kulakshaye, in destroying the family, pranashyanti, becomes vanquished, Kuladharmaha, the family traditions, Sanatanaha, eternal, Dharme, in religion, Nashte, being destroyed, Kulam, family, Kritsnam, wholesale, Adharmaha, irreligious, Abhibhavati, transforms, Uta, it is said. Translation: With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligious practice. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the system of the Varnashrama institution, there are many principles of religious traditions to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family, beginning from birth to death. But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Therefore, for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain. Text 40. Adharmabhibhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyah strishu dushtashu varshneya jayate varna sankaraha. Synonyms: Adharma, irreligion, Abhibhavat, having been predominant, Krishna, O Krishna, pradushyanti, become polluted, kulastriyaha, family ladies, strishu, of the womanhood, dushtasu, being so polluted, varshneya, O descendant of Vrishni, jayate, it so becomes, varna sankaraha, unwanted progeny. Translation: when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashrama religion's principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by the elder members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So, the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in the Varnashrama system. On the failure of such Varnashrama dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence. Text 41. Sankaro narakayaiva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hyesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. Synonyms: Sankaraha, such unwanted children; Narakaya, for hellish life; Eva, certainly; Kulagnanam, of those who are killers of the family; Kulasya, of the family; Cha, also; Patanti, fall down; Pitaraha, forefathers; He, certainly; Yesham, of them; Lupta, stopped; Pinda, offerings; Udaka, water; Kriyaha, performance. Translation: when there is increase of unwanted population, a hellish situation is created, both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. In such corrupt families, there is no offering of oblations of food and water to the ancestors. Purport: according to the rules and regulations of fruitive activities, there is a need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of sinful actions. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes some of them cannot even acquire a gross material body and are forced to remain in subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, when remnants of prasadam food are offered to forefathers by descendants, the forefathers are released from ghostly or other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in the devotional life is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. It is stated in the Bhagavatam, Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitrunam na kinkaro nayam rini charajan सर्वात्मना यः शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्. Anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Text 41. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 42. दोषैरेतैकुलघ्नानां वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्मा कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः. Synonyms. Doshaihi, by such faults. Etaihi, all these. Kulagnanam, of the destroyer of a family. Varna Sankara, unwanted children. Karakaihi, by the doers. Utsadhyante, causes devastation. Jati Dharmaha, community project. Kula Dharmaha, family tradition. Cha, also. Shashvataha, eternal. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Due to the evil deeds of the destroyers of family tradition, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Purport. The four orders of human society, combined with family welfare activities, as they are set forth by the institution of the Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama Dharma, are designed to enable the human being to attain his ultimate salvation. Therefore, the breaking of the Sanatana Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders of society brings about chaos in that society, and consequently, people forget the aim of life, Vishnu. Such leaders are called blind, and persons who follow such leaders are sure to be led into chaos. Text 43. उत्सन्नकुलधर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतं वासो भवतीत्यनुशुश्रुमा. Synonyms. Utsanna, spoiled. Kuladharmanam, of those who have the family traditions. Manushyanam, of such men. Janardana, O Krishna. Narake, in hell. Niyatam, always. Vasaha, residence. Bhavati, it so becomes. Iti, thus. Anushushruma, I have heard by disciplic succession. Translation. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those who destroy family traditions dwell always in hell. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna bases his argument not on his own personal experience, but on what he has heard from the authorities. That is the way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the point, one cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Varnashrama institution by which one has to undergo the process of ablution before death for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of ablution called the prayashchitta. Without doing so, one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable lives as the result of sinful activities. Text 44. Aho bata mahatpapam kartum vyavasita vayam yadrajya sukhalobena hantum swajanamudyataha. Synonyms. Aha, ahaha, alas. Bata, How strange it is! Mahat, great. Papam, sins. Kartum, to perform. Vyavasitaha, decided. Vayam, we. Yat, so that. Rajya, kingdom. Sukhalobhena, driven by greed for royal happiness. Hantum, to kill. Swajanam, kinsman. Udyataha, trying for. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. Purport: Driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in the history of the world. But Arjuna, being a saintly devotee of the Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore takes care to avoid such activities. Thank you so much for joining the reading session today. We shall continue to read tomorrow. Please share at least one point of learning from today's reading in your respective groups: folk, folk plus, and folk teams. Thank you once again. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you for today's Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita reading. Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome all of you once again for the Bhagavad Gita reading session. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaраvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Chapter 1, entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra, Text 45. Yadi mam apratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah dhartarashtrarane hanyus tanme kshemataram bhavet. Synonyms: Yadi, even if, Mam, unto me, Apratikaram, without being resistant, Ashastram, without being fully equipped, Shastrapanayaha, those with weapons in hand, Dhartarashtraha, the sons of Dhritarashtra, Rane, in the battlefield, Hanyuhu, may kill, Tat, that, may, mine, Shemataram, better, Bhavet, become. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaраvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation: Arjuna continued, I would consider it better for the sons of Dhritarashtra to kill me unarmed and unresisting rather than fight with them. Purport: It is the custom, according to Kshatriya fighting principles, that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, in such an enigmatic position, decided he would not fight if he were attacked by the enemy. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All these symptoms are due to soft-heartedness resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord. Text 46. Sanjaya Uvacha एवमुक्त्वार्जुनः सङ्ख्ये रथोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य सशरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः. Synonyms. Sanjayah, Sanjaya, Uvacha, said, Evam, thus, Uktva, saying, Arjunaha, Arjuna, Sankhye, in the battlefield, Ratha, chariot, Upasthaha, situated on, Upavishat, sat down again, Visrajya, keeping aside, Sasharam, along with arrows, Chapam, the bow, Shoka, lamentation, Samvigna, distressed, Manasaha, within the mind. Translation. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. While observing the situation of his army, while observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Chapter 2, Contents of the Gita summarized. So we have completed the first chapter. We are entering the second chapter now, one of the very important chapters. Text 1. Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantamidam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudanaha. Synonyms. Sanjaya Uvacha, Sanjaya said, Tam, unto Arjuna, Tatha, thus, Kripaya, by compassion, Avishtam, overwhelmed, Ashrupurna, full of tears, Akula, depressed, Ikshanam, eyes, Vishidantam, lamenting, Idam, this, Vakyam, words, Uvacha, said, Madhusudanaha, the killer of Madhu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhaya Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion and very sorrowful, his eyes brimming with tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is made possible by working with the fruitive being situated in the fixed conception of the real self. Text 2. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Kutastvakashmalamidam Vishame samupasthitam Anaryajustam asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna. Synonyms. Shri Bhagavanuvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Kutaha, where from? Tva, unto you. Kashmalam, dirtiness. Idam, this lamentation. Vishame, this hour of crisis. Samupasthitam, arrived. Anarya, persons who do not know the value of life. Jushtam, practiced by. Asvargyam, that which does not lead to higher planets. Akirti, infamy. Karam, the cause of. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation. The Supreme Person, Bhagavan, said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the progressive values of life. They do not lead to higher planets, but to infamy. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the absolute truth. Absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this conception of the absolute truth is explained thus. Vadanti tattvavidastatvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Verse 11. These three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced. And one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the supreme absolute truth. Therefore, the bhaktas, or the transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the absolute truth are the topmost transcendentalists, although all students who are engaged in the study of the absolute truth are engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, the Supreme Personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached. But no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayana, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 1. In the Bhagavatam also, there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead, from whom many, many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Ete chamshakala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mrudayanti Yuge Yuge. All the lists of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead, but Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 28. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, the source of both the Super Soul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsmen is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word kutas, where from. Such unmanly sentiments were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsmen. Text 3. क्लैब्य क्लैब्यमास्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वय्युपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप. Synonyms: Clybium, importance; ma, do not; sma, take it; gamaha, go in; partha, O son of Prutha; na, never; etat, like this; tvayi, unto you; upapadyate, is befitting; kshudram, very little; hridaya, heart; daurbalyam, weakness; tyaktva, giving up; uttishta, get up; parantapa, O chastiser of the enemies. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation: The Supreme Lord continued, O son of Prutha, do not yield to this degrading importance. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Purport: Arjuna was addressed as the son of Prutha, who happened to be the sister of Krishna's father Vasudeva. Therefore, Arjuna had a blood relationship with Krishna. If the son of a Kshatriya declines to fight, he is a Kshatriya in name only. And if the son of a Brahmana acts impiously, he is a Brahmana in name only. Such Kshatriyas and Brahmanas are unworthy sons of their fathers, and therefore Krishna did not want Arjuna to become an unworthy son of a Kshatriya. Arjuna was the most intimate friend of Krishna, and Krishna was directly guiding him on the chariot. But in spite of all these credits, if Arjuna abandoned the battle, he would be committing an infamous act. Therefore, Krishna said that such an attitude in Arjuna did not fit his personality. Arjuna might argue that he would give up the battle on the grounds of his magnanimous attitude for the most respectable Bhishma and his relatives. But Krishna considered that sort of magnanimity not approved by authority. Therefore, such magnanimity or so-called non-violence should be given up by persons like Arjuna under the direct guidance of Krishna. Text 4. Arjuna uvacha katham bhishmamaham sankhye dronam cha madhusudana ishubhi pratiyotsyami pujarha varisudana. Synonyms: Arjuna uvacha, Arjuna said, katham, how, bhishmam, unto Bhishma, aham, I, sankhye, in the fight, dronam, unto Drona, cha, also, madhusudana, O killer of Madhu, ishubhihi, with arrows, pratiyotsyami, shall counterattack, pujarhau, those who are worshipable, arisudana, O killer of the enemies. Translation: Arjuna said, O killer of Madhu, Krishna, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship? Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Respectable superiors like Bhishma, the grandfather, and Dronacharya, the teacher, are always worshipable. Even if they attack, they should not be counterattacked. It is general etiquette that superiors are not to be offered even a verbal fight. Even if they are sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. Then, how is it possible for Arjuna to counterattack them? Would Krishna ever attack his own grandfather Ugrasena or his teacher Sandipani Muni? These were some of the arguments by Arjuna to Krishna. Text 5. Guruna hatva hi mahanubhavan Shreyo bhoktum bhaikshyamapi haloke Hatvartha kamamstu guruni haiva Bhunjiya bhogan rudhira pradigdhan. Synonyms. Gurun, the superiors. Ahatva, by killing. He, certainly. Maha anubhavan, great souls. Shreyaha, it is better. Bhoktum, to enjoy life. Bhaikshyam, begging. Api, even. Iha, in this life. Loke, in this world. Hatva, killing. Artha, gain. Kaman, so desiring. Tu, but. Gurun, superiors. Iha, in this world. Eva, certainly. Bhunjiya, has to enjoy. Bhogan, enjoyable things. Rudhira, blood. Pradigdhan, tainted with. Translation. Arjuna continued. It is better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though they are avaricious, they are nonetheless superiors. If they are killed, our spoils will be tainted with blood. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. According to scriptural quotes, a teacher who engages in an abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhishma and Drona were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of his financial assistance, although they should not have accepted such a position simply on financial considerations. Under the circumstances, they have lost the respectability of teachers. But Arjuna thinks that nevertheless they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood. Text 6. Na chaitadvidmah kataranno gariyo yadva jayema yadiva no jayeyuhu yaneva hatva na jijivishamaha Tevastita pramukhe dhartharashtraha. Synonyms. Na, nor. Cha, also. Etat, this. Vidmaha, do know. Katarat, which. Naha, us. Gariyaha, better. Yat, what. Va, either. Jayema, conquer us. Yadi, if. Va, or. Naha, us. Jayeyuhu, conquer. Yan, those. Eva, certainly. Hatva, by killing. Na, never. Jijivishamaha, want to live. Te, all of them. Avasthitaha, are situated. Pramukhe, in the front. Dhartarashtraha, the sons of Dhritarashtra. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. The sons of Dhritarashtra, whom if we killed, we should not care to live, are now standing before us on this battlefield. Purport. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is the duty of the Kshatriyas, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of subsistence. Nor was there certainty of victory, because either side might emerge victorious. Even if victory awaited them and their cause was justified, still, if the sons of Dhritarashtra died in battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All these considerations by Arjuna definitely prove that he was not only a great devotee of the Lord, but that he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous, as these qualities, combined with his faith in the words of instruction of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge. And without knowledge and devotion, there is no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. We will continue to read tomorrow. Thank you for your time. Please share one or two points from today's reading in your respective groups, and this will encourage others to also join our daily reading sessions. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. विश्व गुरु श्रील
Right.
प्रभुपाद की जय.
Right.
Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaраvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 2 entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized. Text 7. Karpanyadoshopahatasva स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. Synonyms: Karpanya, miserly; dosha, weakness; upahata, being inflicted by; swabhavaha, characteristics; pruchhami, I am asking; tvam, unto you; dharma, religion; sammudha, bewildered; chetaha, in heart; yat, what; shreyaha, all good; syat, may be; nishchitam, confidently; bruhi, tell; tat, that; me, unto me; shishyaha, disciple; te, your; aham, I am; shadhi, just instruct; mam, me; tvam, unto you; prapannam, surrendered. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charana Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Arjuna continued, Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not, therefore, remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spirit. Is the purport of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Garga Upanishad, the perplexed man is described as follows: Yova etad aksharam gargi avid, avidvitamsal lokat praiti sakrupanaha. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human, and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs, without understanding the science of self realization. This human form of life is a most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. The Kripanas, or miserly persons, waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. in the material conception of life. One is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, and other members, on the basis of skin disease. The Kripana thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still, on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious, and now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself. And yet, foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna's within and without, and one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. Text 8. Nahi prapashyami mamanupadyat yacchokamuchchoshanamindriyanam avapya bhuma vasapatnamruddham rajyam suranam api chadhipatyam. Translation. Synonyms: na, do not; he, certainly; prapashyami, I see; mama, my; apanudyat, they can drive away; yat, that; shokam, lamentation; uchchoshanam, drying up; indriyanam, of the senses; avapya, achieving; bhumau, on the earth; asapatnam, without rival; Riddham, prosperous; Rajyam, kingdom; Suranam, of the demigods; Api, even; Cha, also; Adhipatyam, supremacy. Translation. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not I win an unrivaled kingdom on the earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Purport. Although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc., are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can only be given by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kene Naya E Krishna Tattvaveta Se Guru Haya. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 8, verse 127. It does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is master in the science of Krishna, he is the perfect and bona fide spiritual master. So, without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in Vedic literatures, Shatkarma nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharadaha avaishnavo gurur nasat syad vaishnava shvapacho guruhu. A scholarly Brahmana, expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge, is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease, and death, cannot be countered by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed, yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam which constitute the signs of Krishna or the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. If economic development and material comforts could drive away one's lamentations for family, social, national, or international inabilities, then Arjuna would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of the demigods in the heavenly planets could not be able to drive away his lamentations. He sought, therefore, refuge in Krishna consciousness, and that is the right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysms of material nature. Even elevation into a higher planetary system, even elevation into a higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking a place on the moon planet, can also be finished at one stroke. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Kshine punye martya. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lowest status of life. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna, as Arjuna is seeking to do. So, Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. Text 9. Sanjaya Uvacha Evamukta Hrishikesham Gudakeshah Parantapah न योत्स्य इति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः. Synonyms. Sanjaya Uvacha. Sanjaya said, Evam thus, Uktva speaking, Rishikesham unto Krishna, the master of the senses. Gudakeshaha Arjuna, the master at curbing ignorance. Parantapaha, the chastiser of the enemies. Nayotsye, I shall not fight. Iti, thus. Govindam, unto Krishna, the giver of pleasure. Uktva, saying. Tushnim, silent. Babhuva, became. Her, certainly. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Purport. Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna was not going to fight and was instead leaving the battlefield for the begging profession. But Sanjaya disappointed him again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies. Parantapaha. Although Arjuna was for the time being overwhelmed with false grief due to family affection, he surrendered unto Krishna, the supreme spiritual master, as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be free from the false lamentation resulting from family affection and would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self realization or Krishna consciousness and would then surely fight. Thus, Dhritarashtra's joy would be frustrated since Arjuna would be enlightened by Krishna and would fight to the end. Text 10. Tamuvacha Hrishikesha Prahasan iva Bharata Senayorubhayormadhye Vishidantamidam Vachaha. Synonyms. Tam unto him. Uvacha said. Hrishikeshaha, the master of the senses, Krishna. Prahasan, smiling. Iva, like that. Bharata, O Dhritarashtra, descendant of Bharata, Senayoho of the armies, Ubhayoho of both parties, Madhye between, Vishidantam unto the lamenting one, Idam the following, Vachaha words. Translation. Sanjaya continued, O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. The talk was going on between intimate friends, namely the Hrishikesha and the Gudakesha. As friends, both of them were on the same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because a friend had chosen to become a disciple. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as the master of everyone, and yet the Lord accepts one who wishes to become a friend, a son, a lover, or a devotee, a role. But when he was accepted as the master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master, with gravity, as it is required. It appears that the talk between the master and the disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all, and friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. Text 11. Sri Bhagavanuvacha अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्त्वं प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे गतासु न गतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पंडिताः. Synonyms. Sri Bhagavanuvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Ashocyan, that which is not worthy of lamentation. Anvashochaha, you are lamenting. Tvam, you. Prajnavadaha, learned talks. Cha, also. Bhashase, speaking. Gata, lost. Asoon, life. Agata, not past. Asoon, life. Cha, also. Na, never. Anushochati, Anushocanti, lament. Panditaha, the learned. Translation. The blessed Lord said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Purport. The Lord at once took the position of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, you are talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows what is body and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition. As it will be explained in later chapters, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and spirit, and the controller of both. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology, but he did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and the Supreme is even more important than religious formularies. And because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned. and for him there is no cause for lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body. Text 12. Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadhipaha न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः param. Synonyms: na, never; tu, but; eva, certainly; aham, I; jatu, become; na, never; asam, existed; na, it is not so; tvam, yourself; na, not; ime, all these; janadhipaha, kings; na, never; cha, also; eva, certainly; na, not like that; bhavishyamaha, shall exist; sarve, all of us; vayam, we; ataha param, hereafter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation: Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Purport: In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also, by his plenary portions, alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Nityo nityanam chetanaschetananam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman tamatmastham yenu pashyanti dhiraha tesham shanti shashvati netaresham. Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned, but factually have but a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that He Himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned as well as in their liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Individual Person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual, eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the Supreme Authority. Nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. This statement of Krishna is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality is not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much, even for the future. The Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting the argument, that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. He has confirmed his individuality in many ways. An impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all the four defects of human frailty is unable to teach what hearing. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned. After condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how was it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord. Those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature. The non devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like bees licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees, and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the fourth chapter of the book. Nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, the Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is a most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and of the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as above mentioned. We will continue to read in the next session. Thank you for your valuable time. Granthara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 2 entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized. Text 13. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. Synonyms. Dehinaha of the embodied. Asmin in this. Yatha as. Dehe in the body. Kaumaram boyhood. Yauvanam youth. Jara old age. Tatha similarly. Dehantara transference of the body. Praptihi achievement. Dhiraha the sober. Tatra thereupon. Na never. Muhyati deluded. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead continued. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Purport: Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and becomes another body. And since it is sure to have another body in the next life, either material or spiritual, there was no cause for lamentation by Arjuna on account of death, neither for happiness on account of rebirth. So, Bhishma and Drona, being noble souls, were surely going to have either spiritual bodies in the next life or at least life in heavenly bodies for superior enjoyment of material existence. So, in either case, there was no cause of lamentation. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the supersoul, and nature, both material and spiritual, is called a dhira or a most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by the change of bodies. The Mayavadi theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained on the ground that spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portion. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the supreme cleavable or changeable against the principle of the supreme soul being unchangeable. As confirmed in the Gita, the fragmental portions of the Supreme exist eternally, Sanatana, and are called Kshara. That is, they have a tendency to fall down into material nature. These fragmental portions are eternally so, and even after liberation, the individual soul remains the same, fragmental. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life in bliss and knowledge with the personality of Godhead. The theory of reflection can be applied to the supersoul who is present in each and every individual body and is known as the Paramatma, who is different from the individual living entity. When the sky is reflected in water, the reflections represent both the sun and the moon and the stars also. The stars can be compared to the living entities, and the sun or the moon to the Supreme Lord. The individual fragmental spirit soul is represented by Arjuna, and the Supreme Soul is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. They are not on the same level, as it will be apparent in the beginning of the fourth chapter. If Arjuna is on the same level with Krishna, and Krishna is not superior to Arjuna, then their relationship of instructor and instructed becomes meaningless. If both of them are deluded by the illusory energy or Maya, then there is no need of one being the instructor and the other the instructed. Such instruction would be useless because in the clutches of Maya, No one can be an authoritative instructor. Under the circumstances, it is admitted that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, superior in position to the living entity Arjuna, who is a forgotten soul deluded by Maya. Text 14. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadah agamapaino nityastam stitikshasva bharata. Synonyms. Matra, sensuous. Sparshaha, perception. Tu, only. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Shita, winter. Ushna, summer. Sukha, happiness. Dukkhadaha, giving pain. Agama, appearing. Apayinaha, disappearing. Anityaha, non-permanent. Tan, all of them. Titikshava, just try to tolerate. Bharata, O descendant of the Bharata dynasty. Translation. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magha, January February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas. And although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge, because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya or illusion. The two different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kaunteya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharata signifies his greatness from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting. Text 15. यं हि न व्यतीयन्ते ते पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभा समदुःखसुखं धीरं सोमृतत्वाय कल्पते. Synonyms. Yam, one who, he, certainly, na, never, vyathayanti, are distressing, ete, all these, purusham, to a person, purusharshabha, is best among men, sama, unaltered, dukkha, distress, sukham, happiness, dhiram, patient, saha, he, amritatvaya, for liberation, kalpate, is considered eligible. Translation. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, and is steady in both, is certainly eligible for liberation. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the Varnashrama institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order or sannyasa, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyasa order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships, to give up the connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyasa at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife, as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyasa and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. Text 16. नासतो विद्यते भावो नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्तस्त्वनयोस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः. Synonyms: na, never; asataha, of the non-existent; vidyate, there is; bhavaha, endurance; na, never; abhavaha, changing quality; vidyate, there is; sataha, of the eternal; ubhayoho, of the two; api, verily; drishtaha, observed; antaha, conclusion; tu, but; anayoho, of them; tattva, truth; darshibhihi, by the seers. Translation: those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. This seers have concluded by studying the nature of both. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. There is no endurance of the changing body. That the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalist and personalist. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self illuminated spiritual existence. Jyotimshi Vishnur Bhavanani Vishnuhu. The words existent and non existent refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of truth. This is the beginning of the instruction of the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself, the difference between oneself and the Supreme Being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, The Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature as it will be revealed in the seventh chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme, and energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance, and to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time. Text 17. अविनाशि तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति. Synonyms: Avinashi, imperishable; tu, but; tat, that; vidhi, know it; yena, by whom; sarvam, all of the body; idam, this; tatam, widespread; vinasham, destruction; avyayasya, of the imperishable; asya, of it; na kaschit, no one; kartum, to do; arhati, able. Translation: know that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. Purport: This verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body. It is consciousness. Everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasures of the body in part or as a whole. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. The pains and pleasures of one body are unknown to another. Therefore, each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul, and the symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. This soul is described as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. The Shvetashvatara Upanishad confirms this. Balagrashata shatadha kalpitasya cha bhago jiva savigneyaha sachan sachantyantya kalpate. When the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 5.9. Similarly, in the Bhagavatam, the same version is stated. Keshagrashata shatamsha sadrushatmakaha jiva sukshma swarupoyam sankhyatīto hi chitkanaha. There are innumerable particles of spiritual atoms which are measured as 1/10,000th of the upper portion of the hair. Therefore, the individual particle of spirit soul is a spiritual atom smaller than the material atoms, and such atoms are innumerable. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body as the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. This current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is the proof of the presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that The material body minus consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. In the Mundaka Upanishad, the measurement of the atomic spirit soul is further explained. Yesho anuratma chetasa veditavyo yasmin prana panchadha samvivesha pranaishchittam sarvamotam prajanam yasmin vishuddhe vibhavati esha atma. The soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is floating in the four kinds of air: prana, apana, vyana, samana, and udana, is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the five kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.9. The Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the five kinds of air encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit, but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So, the constitution of the atomic soul is admitted in all Vedic literatures, and it is also actually felt in the practical experience of any sane man. Only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all pervading Vishnu Tattva. The influence of the atomic soul can be spread all over a particular body. According to the Mundaka Upanishad, this atomic soul is situated in the heart of every living entity, and because the measurement of the atomic soul is beyond the power of appreciation of the material scientists, some of them assert foolishly that there is no soul. The individual atomic soul is definitely there in the heart, along with the supersoul, and thus all the energies of bodily movement are emanating from this part of the body. The corpuscles which carry the oxygen from the lungs gather energy from the soul. When the soul passes away from this position, activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of the red corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does admit that the heart is the seat of all energies of the body. Such atomic particles of the spirit whole are compared to the sunshine molecules. In the sunshine, there are innumerable radiant molecules. Similarly, the fragmental parts of the Supreme Lord are atomic sparks of the rays of the Supreme Lord, called by the name Prabha or superior energy. Neither Vedic knowledge nor modern science denies the existence of the spirit soul in the body, and the science of the soul is explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita by the personality of Godhead himself. Text 18. Antavanta ime deha nityasyoktā sharirinaha anashino aprameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. Synonyms: Antavantaha, perishable; Ime, all these; Dehaha, material bodies; Nityasya, eternal in existence; Uktaha, it is so said; Sharirinaha, the embodied souls; Anashinaha, never to be destroyed; Aprameyasya, immeasurable; Tasmat, therefore; Yudhyasva, fight; Bharata, O descendant of Bharata. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation: only the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is subject to destruction. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Purport: the material body is perishable by nature. It may perish immediately, or it may do so after 100 years. It is only a question of time only. It is a question of time only. There is no chance of maintaining it indefinitely. But the spirit soul is so minute that it cannot even be seen by an enemy, to say nothing of being killed. As mentioned in the previous verse, it is so small that no one can have any idea how to measure its dimension. So, from both viewpoints, there is no cause of lamentation, because the living entity can neither be killed as he is, nor can the material body, which cannot be saved for any length of time, be permanently protected. The minute particle of the whole spirit acquires this material body according to his work, and therefore observance of religious principles should be utilized. In the Vedanta Sutras, the living entity is qualified as light because he is part and parcel of the Supreme Light. As sunlight maintains the entire universe, so the light of the soul maintains this material body. As soon as the spirit soul is out of this material body, the body begins to decompose. Therefore, it is the spirit soul which maintains the body. The body itself is unimportant. Arjuna was advised to fight and sacrifice the material body for the cause of religion. We shall continue to read tomorrow. Thank you for your time. Please do share one or two striking points from today's reading session. Granthara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You can share.
Hare
You
Krishna.
can share your. You can share your striking points with me personally, and I can post it on a suitable group. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.